My name is Kat Albrecht. I'm with Missing Pet Partnership, and I wanted to talk today a little bit about the use of a snappy snare and a magnet dog. This is a technique that we teach through Missing Pet Partnership's Missing Animal Response course on how to capture hard to catch skittish dogs that are fearful and that will run from people, but that may come up to another dog. Now, you've probably, if you're taking the MAR course, then you've likely seen the video that we have, the one of me using my magnet dog Cody and the snappy snare to catch the Rottweiler, and then also the one that we use to capture the brown pit bull. What I want to talk here is about the actual technique of holding the snappy snare. So you'll understand more by watching those videos the process of how this works to capture a dog, but what I'll show today is how to hold the snappy snare, and then just some other advice, lessons that I've learned by making mistakes. The snappy snare is designed to be a tool that you can use with one hand. This is the advantage of using this as opposed to using the catch pole. The catch pole to operate, actually, I'll undo the snappy snare here. The catch pole is great if you have the dog in an area where it is loose and potentially in a corner, or because if the dog is able to quickly run away from you, this isn't going to work. This is more where you're going towards the dog and looping this around the dog's neck in order to create a leash and collar in one. The problem, again, with the catch pole is it requires two hands to use it. Therefore, you would not be able to use this in conjunction with a magnet dog, a wiggly friendly dog. What is nice about the snappy snare is it is a device you can use when you're attracting the dog to come to you. That the dog is willingly coming, but actually they don't come to you, they're coming to your wiggly friendly magnet dog. The dog that you would use that loves to play with other dogs and sends off play signals. So having in mind that you're going to be having your magnet dog in one hand, you probably want to select a magnet dog that's going to not be a large dog, because if you had a 125-pound magnet dog that's pulling you and wanting to play with the other dog, you're going to have a hard time managing catching a dog and restraining your other dog. So having a smaller dog, even a toy type breed, or a medium-sized to smaller dog would be the advantage. When holding the snappy snare, you do want to put your hand through the loop that comes with the snappy snare. The reason being is we've had a case before where a volunteer had just removed, in fact we had told, they had asked, do you need to use the handle, and we said, yeah, you can just cut it off. And well, she did that, and so she was grasping onto this, and she used the snappy snare and caught a dog, but then got scared and let go of the snappy snare, and there the dog went running away with her snappy snare. So you do want to make sure that you have the loop and that you run or put it over your wrist. It's designed for you to be able to hold the snappy snare triggered, which again, this is a loop that goes over the snappy snare here. It's pulled, but it's designed that you can hold it with one finger, so that at the precise moment when the dog's head has gone through the snappy snare, you then release the trigger, which I'll do here now, by just simply moving your finger like that. And then it would capture the dog by snaring him. I've had people ask before, does it hurt the dog? So when we used to teach the pet detective, the MAR training course in class, we required the students to all put their hand through and get snappy snared, and then practice using it on somebody else. It doesn't hurt, but it can startle a dog. We've had cases where we've used it, and like if you watch the two videos that we have in the class, you'll see that the dogs respond and jump back, but then they oftentimes will stand there. The exception being was the Rottweiler that got scared and tried to run, so we just simply ran with him while still holding on the snappy snare. One of the most critical aspects in using the snappy snare is you need to make sure that when you're placing it over the head of the other dog, it needs to be perpendicular, meaning that you want to make sure that you are putting the snare over the animal's neck and releasing it at the moment that the dog is correctly in the snare. If you were to put the snare at the improper angle, in other words, if the dog's head was here and you tried to snap, if you release at this moment here when it's at an angle, it would just shift off of the dog. When you would release it, it would just go and not catch the dog. I've had that happen before. I've missed on several occasions, and unfortunately I was not able to get close enough to the dog again after the first attempt. So it's very important, again, that from a distance or when you're approaching the dog. This is odd to be doing it at this angle here because the dog's head is not going to be straight up in the air. But you wait for the correct moment, and in watching the videos, you'll see when that happens. When that happens when you're using a magnet dog, it's usually because it's at the moment when the magnet dog has its nose and the dog that you're trying to catch is coming up and they're going nose to nose, and that's often the time that you're able to then move the snappy snare over the neck of the other dog that you're trying to catch and then release. When the magnet dog works, what happens is that the skittish dog typically gets tunnel vision. It becomes so focused on looking at your magnet dog that it doesn't even notice you. That's really the key to how and why this becomes so effective, because you are holding on to your magnet dog. It's in a harness or could be on a collar and a long lead, like a 15-foot or 30-foot long lead, but you end up getting close enough to your dog. And again, we teach the step-by-step process in the MAR course itself. You'll be getting that as separate instruction, but you are always there. Sometimes you may have to reach towards the other dog. You'll notice in the video of the pit bull, I'm not looking at and facing that dog. My shoulder is at the dog. I'm watching him out of the corner of my eye, and when the moment is right, when I see him beginning to sniff noses with Cody, that's when I position it and release it and catch him. So again, it's a great device to use, in my opinion. Not only every pet detective, but everybody who's involved in rescue should have a snappy snare in their car. If you don't have a magnet dog, you can potentially use treats to be able to get the dog to come to you, but really the most effective way that we've found that it works is by using the magnet dog that will attract the dog, and it just takes practice. So one thing you could do potentially would be go to a local dog park and get permission from the owners there. Is it okay if I use this? It's not going to harm their dog, but it's going to give you the needed practice to be able to practice on a live animal. You could practice with a big stuffed animal too. We've done that before in class. But if you have any questions on how to become a pet detective or more information on lost pet recovery, you can go to missingpetpartnership.org. Thank you.